Hey guys, we're live on the moon. It's a shaky, shaky, shaky kind of moon tonight. The wind is blowing. It's about 15 to 10. I've been waiting around for the wind to settle down. It doesn't seem like it's going to settle down very much, and I will be losing my moon soon. And I wanted to show you, although it is shaky, it is spectacular. I uh, I wanted to show you some things in a kind of broader brush stroke than I did last evening. If you remember last evening, and this is just beautiful. Just look at this scene. You got all these craters and just up against the shadow line. It's absolutely beautiful. Uh, if you recall, yesterday's session was really a pretty good session with a 2.5 uh, Teleview PowerMate Barlow, and I did a survey of the entire moon, and it was very, very, very close and personal. And I showed you things that, quite frankly, were really pretty close to the moon. And I wanted to give you a perspective of how close we were. This particular session is I got the camera butt up against the focuser, and it's probably going to give you as broad a picture of the moon as I can give you with this camera. But I'll be able to show you some of the things that we were looking at yesterday in a bigger light. So if it blows around and shakes, it shakes. That's the wind blowing. I can't control that. If I had an observatory, we wouldn't have that problem. That's why they build observatories, guys. I did buy a wind a room divider. I tried to, it's out there. It's not helping very much. There's our what I called a needle ship, and I mean I just don't know what it is, but it looks kind of like a sword in this perspective. In this perspective, by the way, up is north and down is south. You can see those shakes. That's the wind. In my earlier videos, I was flipped, but I wanted to deliberately give you a broader stroke. See, that wind is whipping around, and I really have no control over it. I was going to just forego this, but I saw a an incredible mountain range that I wanted to show you guys. I've been on this moon for 2.5 hours, and it is a colorful moon, and this is the mountain range. This is what I called before. Uh, I believe this leads to what I called before the backbone, or the coughing mountains. And you can see, look at that. What makes this picture so interesting, you see, if I wait around very long, I won't have that shadow. Look at that shadow. See, we have a mountain range in the sun, and the sun is basically to our advantage in this picture. Let me get it centered. See the shadow line right behind the ridge? This is clearly a ridge line on a mountain, and you can see the sun's, see that peak right there? See that peak right there? That's the it's just a perspective I've never seen before. I think it's so beautiful. And you can see it's a broad, see the mountain. Let me try to make sure we're seeing this the same way. I'm going to increase the... See, if you were here tapping me on the shoulder, you would say, Bill, you gotta make it brighter. I can't see it. Okay, you can see it now. Here's the fantastic mountain range I'm talking about, and you can see all these little details of the shadow with the peaks. You can see that edge right there, see that edge right there. It's just fantastic. And I'm going to kind of follow this mountain range. See, this is a mountain range with a lot of detail. And what makes this mountain range so unique is that this mountain range is the same mountain range basically as the cut that I was showing you yesterday. Now it's too bright. I gotta change the exposure down a little bit. See this cut? This is what I said initially on that video last night, that it was a spaceship. Well, it's not. It's that cut that we've been looking at forever. And here's the Druid Training Center I've been calling the little mini Stonehenge. And here's, you can see that there's just so much detail. But if you compare it to my video from yesterday, you'll see that this thing here almost filled up the entire screen. So I'm showing you that I'm really getting in close with this Barlow, and you're seeing details that you have just never seen before on a live video from the moon. And I think that this particular mountain range is one of the most beautiful mountain ranges on the moon I've ever seen, and that's why I had to get this video in spite of the wind. Now you can see right there, that's clearly a hornet nest crater on top of that mountain, and one right next to it. Let's go back and look at this fantastic mountain range. You got the coloration variation. It's just beautiful. Now, don't you just feel like you're an adventurer? I mean, if you were a little spaceman, you know, just kind of walking around on that Mars, and you saw this thing with all these shadows, these defined shadows, it would look like a Grand Canyon on the moon. It would be one of the most spectacular, awe-inspiring sights that you ever saw in your life. If you were standing right there and kind of walked over here, and you could see the sun with the shadows, and it would just be incredible. I mean, look at just fantastic, in my humble opinion. I think it's a fantastic image. Look at those shadows enunciating the peaks of those ridges. Just absolutely incredible. In spite of the the wind. And again, this, you can see more of this this sea now, because the shadow line is moving, and every time we look at this image, it's just a different image. It's just a different perspective. You remember that crater? That was an immense crater on my video yesterday. Look at the beauty of this one. Here we got a wonderful large crater that I saw before. I just saw the part of it, and now not only do you see the kind of flat sea in it, but you see these defined shadows of the edge. It's just beautiful. Okay, let's move over here a little bit, and I want to press our luck and hope we can get in. And here again is that part of that mountain range that we just showed you, that hornet nest crater sticking up like a sore thumb right there. And there's something else sticking up way high, and you can see the shadow defines the structure or rock formation. And it's right next to the what I called the Druid training base. When I first saw this, I was reading about Stonehenge, and excuse me, and the Druids trained. Um, well, they didn't train, but they went there once a year at the winter solace, and uh, and I just made a comment that it maybe they used that as a fallen angel training base for Druids. Uh, it is a fairly bright moon. I got all my controls cranked down. Let's just turn the exposure down a little bit. That looks a little bit better. You can see more of the see these points of light. I think in certain situations these things just beam out. I think that's some kind of a glass sea or a crystal sea or something where you can see through it. The scientists will say it's probably just a bunch of sand, but it looks like translucent sand to me. There's the wind again. The enemy of the astronomer is the wind. I was watching that video I made yesterday. I thought it was remarkable that we got that close. And I made a comment about I don't know whether we're going to see it or not. I'm not sure I know exactly where it is, but it was a curve, kind of like this, and it looked rather strange. And if you look at that video again, you'll see at the base of that curve where it goes, and right here there was a triangle. It looked like a pyramid. Here's where we had a close-up of that skid mark on the moon. And in one of our videos, a couple videos back, we highlighted this particular crater with that. It's probably a rock structure, but it sure does look unusual. Now see if I turn, it's so bright, I turn the exposure up just one notch and it wipes you out, you see. And if I turn the contrast up, it, uh, I'm I could mess with the saturation a little bit, I guess. Okay, let's continue this survey. You'll see that when I come out here, and I sit on this moon and I just wait for the thing to get it. When the wind's blowing, I just try to wait until it dies down, and I wait and I wait and I wait and some nights I just won't make a video because the wind doesn't die down and it just, you know, it's not very good. But that one mountain range just got me, and I should say I have to show these guys because that was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen on the moon. You can see the wind clearly blowing there. Let's go over just a little bit here and go down now. Again, just to see if they can see what we can see. See, there's a very, very, very bright crater. Very bright. And let me try to turn up the exposure. I think it'll overpower you. Yep, see, it's how it just overpowers you. And you can see how these mountains that were clearly mountains in another light now look like kind of like clouds. Okay, let's just follow the edge, the outer edge up. By the way, I did try the Barlow. I tried the 5 times Barlow and the 2.5 times Barlow. I mean, they worked, but I mean, when it's this windy, you can't use them. There's our ferret. And remember, I was talking about and showing you all these canyons and everything in this area, all these little canyons. Now it's hard to see the mountain range because they look like clouds. That's the nuances of the optical illusion of the moon. And because it's so bright right now, and I did have a moon filter on there, but it detracts from the details so much that I decided just to take it off. But you can still see the points of light. I was going to put the 90-degree in and do a normal survey, but then I decided, well, I wanted you to get the same perspective that it was from last night. In other words, a flipped deal. On all my other videos, down is south and up is north. On this one, up is up or north and down is south or down. And it makes it difficult to let's go down and look at that fantastic mountain range, and then I'll shut it down. And again, right there, you can see that clearly defined cut. There's the wind, guys. But if you look at my ridge line, you'll see why I had to show you. In spite of the wind, old Bill perseveres. Comes through and shows you in the end, no matter what. I think that's fantastic. You got, let me turn the exposure up on this now. We're closer to the, maybe one more even, yeah. That you can see so clearly the ridge line and then the shadow projected behind it. Absolutely fantastic. And you can actually see, since we started this video, see how the shadow's getting closer to the ridge line. If I waited another 30 minutes, I wouldn't have been able to show you this ridge line in this perspective. It's a once in a lifetime deal, guys, and you saw it. Okay, I wish for you a great week. I hope everything's going your way. Keep your chins up. The world's going absolutely Looney Tune crazy. I have no idea what's going on. I just know it's all bad, and that's why you need to stick with Bill and just put a smile on your face and relax and try to put the worries of the world behind you, because you can't do too much about it anyhow. In the meantime, clear skies, guys.